Ever felt like someone's silent mission is to see you fall? They don't fight you, at least not openly, but somehow the damage is real. It's not just hate, it's a calculated plan to erase you, and you need to know how to spot it before it's too late. Welcome to Stoic Bridge, the bridge between ancient wisdom and modern life, guiding you through life's storms with calm and resilience. Now let me ask you, have you ever noticed that some people don't simply dislike you? They want to dismantle you, they won't come at you head on. No arguments, no loud battles, just quiet sabotage. They whisper behind curtains, they sow seeds of doubt in places you can't see, waiting for that perfect moment to strike. It's like a fire smoldering beneath dry earth. At first, there's only smoke, barely visible. Then suddenly everything's burned. You're left wondering when it even began. Or picture a vulture circling high above. It doesn't dive. It doesn't strike. It waits, watching, hoping you'll stumble on your own. That's how they operate. Not with loud hostility, but through slow, intentional destruction. Yet here's the power they fear most. The moment you stop reacting to their traps is the moment they start losing control. They don't just hate you, they want to erase you. But Stoic wisdom teaches us, you have a choice. Engage with their darkness or rise with unshakable calm. And when you choose stillness over outrage, that's when their world begins to collapse. So how do you spot these people before the damage is done, before paranoia creeps in, before you start second-guessing yourself? Stay with me until the end, because the last sign could change the way you see everything. Let's begin. 1, they spread lies to tarnish your reputation. It starts quietly, like the rustling of leaves before a storm. At first, you don't even notice it, but soon you sense something shifting. People begin looking at you differently. Conversations pause when you walk into a room, and that's when you realize someone isn't just disliking you, they're actively rewriting the story of who you are. This is one of the most calculated and deeply damaging tactics used by someone who doesn't just hate you. They want to destroy you. They don't just gossip. They strategize. They twist your words. They exaggerate your flaws. They craft a false image of you and spread it with precision. And the goal? Not merely to harm your name, but to isolate you, to weaken your influence, to turn allies into doubters and admiration into suspicion. Because here's the hard truth. Once people begin to question your character, you're suddenly climbing an uphill battle just to be seen as who you truly are. And that's exactly what they want, for you to feel defenseless, cornered, and completely alone. But this is where Stoic wisdom becomes your armor. Heraclitus once said, "Character is fate. Protect yours at all costs." What does that mean in real life? It means no matter how many lies are thrown your way, your consistency, your actions will always reveal the truth. The people who truly know you, who've seen your behavior day after day, will be able to tell the difference between deception and authenticity. You don't need to chase every rumor. You don't need to convince every doubter. Your integrity will do that work for you, silently but powerfully. Let me share a story. There was a man I knew. Let's call him Daniel. He was a respected leader in his company. Smart, hardworking, built everything through years of honest effort. But then a jealous coworker began whispering behind closed doors, telling others that Daniel had only risen because of favoritism, that he wasn't truly competent, just lucky. Naturally, Daniel was furious. He wanted to confront every lie, clear his name, and set the record straight. But then he paused. He chose not to fight fire with fire. Instead, he stayed the course. He continued showing up with the same excellence and integrity that got him there. And slowly, everything changed. People saw through the lies. The coworkers' stories began to unravel, And in the end, it wasn't Daniel's reputation that collapsed, it was the liars. because lies are temporary, but character endures. So how do you deal with those who spread lies about you? First, stay calm. Your emotional reaction is exactly what they want and exactly what they'll weaponize. Second, let your actions speak louder than your defense. Continue being who you are. The truth always finds its way to the surface. Third, don't engage in their game. Defend yourself only when truly necessary. But don't waste your energy trying to change the minds of those who already decided not to understand you. Your reputation isn't built in a moment. It's forged over years. And no liar, no matter how convincing, can erase what's real. Let your integrity do the talking, because when the dust settles, deception crumbles under the weight of truth. Now, what if instead of lies, they use something more personal? Let's explore that in the next sign. Start 2. They manipulate you emotionally. It often begins with a soft voice and a gentle look. They don't raise their voice. They don't argue. Instead, they wrap their poison in concern. And before you know it, your emotions are no longer yours. They've become a tool used quietly, subtly to control you from within. This is one of the most insidious tactics a person can use. Not open hostility, not direct attacks, but emotional manipulation. They won't strike you with fists. They strike with guilt, with shame, with fear. They make you feel like you're the problem, that your thoughts, your choices, your needs are somehow wrong. It might start small. They say things like, "I just worry about you. You don't seem like yourself." Or, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me?" And slowly, the game begins. You begin to doubt yourself. Your decisions feel shaky. Even your emotions start to feel like strangers. And that's exactly what they want. For you to stop trusting yourself and start relying on them. Their approval becomes your compass. Their validation becomes your oxygen. But here's the truth behind their tactics. They don't want to support you. They want to break you so that you depend on them to be whole again. The moment you start questioning yourself, the moment you feel you can't move without their permission, they've already won. They plant the fear and then pretend to be the cure. It's a cycle, one designed to trap you. This is where Stoic wisdom lights the way. Epictetus once said, "He who controls his emotions controls his destiny." Think about that. The moment you stop letting someone else pull the strings of your feelings, you take your power back. Their words only have weight if you let them. And the more emotionally grounded you are, the less room they have to manipulate your mind. Let me share a real story. A man I know, let's call him Ryan, had a friend who constantly toyed with his emotions. Every time Ryan made a choice that didn't benefit this friend, he'd hear comments like, "Wow, I guess I just don't matter to you anymore." And when Ryan focused on his own goals, that same friend would sigh and say, "You've changed. You're not the same person I used to know." At first, Ryan felt guilty. He second-guessed himself, wondered if maybe, just maybe, he was being selfish. But then he paused, and he realized something powerful. This friend only had a problem when Ryan stopped putting them first. That wasn't friendship, that was control. So how do you protect yourself from emotional manipulators? First, recognize the pattern. If someone repeatedly makes you feel guilty, fearful, or ashamed for living your own life, that's manipulation. Second, stop seeking their approval. You don't need their permission to pursue your path. And third, master your emotions. The less you react, the less power they have. Because at the end of the day, manipulation only works if you hand over control. The moment you reclaim your mind, their games fall apart. Stay grounded, trust your inner compass, and never let someone else define your worth. Now, what if they don't try to manipulate your emotions directly, but instead provoke you into self-destruction? Let's explore that in the next sign. 3. They provoke you to ruin your image. Imagine you're standing on a calm, still lake. The surface is undisturbed, but suddenly someone tosses a stone, not to admire the ripple, but to create chaos, to make it look like you disturbed the peace. That's what these people do. They don't come at you with obvious hatred. Instead, they provoke, subtly, strategically. They push and poke until you snap. And the moment you lose control, they smile quietly. Because to them, that outburst, that's a victory. This is one of the most dangerous tactics used by someone who doesn't just dislike you. They want to destroy your image. They want you to react, to shout, to lash out, to break character, so they can point and say, see, this is who they really are. At first, it might seem harmless. A passive-aggressive comment here, a dismissive laugh there, a public jab disguised as just a joke. You ignore it, you stay composed. But they don't stop. They're watching closely, waiting for the cracks to appear. And when you finally react, when your patience wears thin, that's when they strike. They step back, put on a mask of innocence, and suddenly you become the aggressor. Here's the hard truth. This isn't about the disagreement. It's about perception. It's not about the conflict. It's about control. Their true aim? To make others doubt you, to paint you as unstable, emotional, or even dangerous. And the more you fight back, the more power you give them over your reputation. But here's where Stoic wisdom becomes your strength. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." What does that mean for you? It means the most powerful response to provocation is no response at all. When someone tries to bait you into anger, the greatest victory is silence. Stillness, refusing to stoop to their level. Because when you stay calm, they lose control of the story. Let me tell you about someone I know. We'll call her Sarah. Sarah had a coworker who constantly tried to undermine her. He'd make snide comments in meetings, dismiss her ideas, even take credit for her work. Weeks went by, frustration built, and one day, Sarah snapped. She called him out in front of the entire team. She raised her voice, and just like that, he played the victim. He looked shocked and said, "Wow, Sarah, I don't know why you're being so aggressive." The room went silent. No one remembered his months of manipulation. They only remembered her outburst. But Sarah learned. From that day on, she didn't react. She observed. She stayed grounded. And her calmness drove him crazy. He had no more ammunition, no outbursts to point at. And slowly, the truth came to light. People saw him for what he really was, a manipulator. So how do you protect yourself from these provocateurs? First, recognize the setup. If someone is clearly trying to trigger a reaction, disengage. That's your first red flag. Second, master your emotions. They can't control the story if you don't hand them the pen. Third, let your actions, not your temper, speak for you. Reputation is built through consistent behavior, not a single moment of anger. Remember this, your silence is stronger than their slander. Your self-control is louder than their lies. Stay composed, stay focused, and never let them rewrite your story with your reaction. And when provocation doesn't work, they may switch tactics, pretending to be your friend. Let's talk about that next. 4. They pretend to be your friend to gather information. Sometimes, the most dangerous enemy doesn't shout from across the battlefield. They sit beside you. They nod at your stories, they ask how you're feeling, and they smile while collecting everything they need to use against you. This is one of the most deceptive tactics a person can use. Not out of care, not out of genuine interest, but to get close enough, just close enough, to find the cracks in your armor. They don't want your friendship, they want access to your thoughts, your plans, your doubts, and your fears. At first it feels harmless. They ask about your goals, they seem genuinely curious about your struggles, They lean in with soft eyes and reassuring words, and just when you begin to believe they truly care, they start filing everything away. But they're not storing memories, they're stockpiling ammunition. Here's the raw truth. They aren't trying to support you. They're studying you, so they can twist your words, expose your vulnerabilities, and strike when you least expect it. Maybe they take something you said in confidence and repeat it, distorted to someone else. Maybe they hold on to your darkest moments and wait until it benefits them to bring it out. Or maybe they simply stay silent, collecting secrets like trophies until the day you pose a threat to them, and that's when they strike. This is why Stoic wisdom matters. Epictetus once said, "Do not reveal all of yourself to everyone, for not all have good intentions." And that's a truth worth repeating. Not every smile is sincere, not every question is curiosity, and not every listener is a friend. Let me share a real example. There was a woman I know, let's call her Rachel. She had a coworker who always acted like her biggest cheerleader. He'd ask her about her long-term career plans. He'd listen as she vented her frustrations. He even asked about her personal life, her dreams, her doubts, her challenges. Rachel thought she had found someone trustworthy, a genuine ally in the workplace. But then, one afternoon, she overheard him. He was in the manager's office, quoting her, but not word for word. He had twisted her thoughts, turned her vulnerability into ammunition, and just like that, he shattered the illusion. He wasn't a friend, he was a spy. So how do you protect yourself from people like this? First, be selective with your trust. Just because someone listens doesn't mean they care. Second, test their intentions. Try sharing something small and insignificant deck hint, then watch how they handle it. Do they gossip? Do they twist your words? That's your answer. And third, protect your inner world. Your real thoughts, your real emotions, they belong to you. Not everyone deserves access. If someone is overly curious about your life but never shares their own struggles, that's a red flag waving right in front of you. A true friend won't need to dig. They won't need your secrets to stand beside you, because support doesn't come through spying, it comes through presence and respect. So guard your words, guard your plans, and above all, guard your peace. Now, what if their next move is to isolate you from the people who truly care about you? Let's uncover that tactic in the next sign. 5. They try to isolate you from supportive people. Sometimes the attack doesn't come head-on. It creeps in slowly, like a shadow that follows you. And before you realize it, the voices that once supported you grow quiet. The hands that used to lift you begin to let go. This is not coincidence. It's a strategy, and one of the most dangerous tactics of someone who doesn't just hate you, but wants to destroy you. They try to isolate you, not just to hurt your feelings, but to cut you off from your sources of strength, the people who believe in you, defend you, and remind you of your worth. At first, it may seem innocent, a whispered comment here, a slight change in tone there. They might say things like, "I don't know, something feels off about them lately," or twist situations to make you appear untrustworthy, unreliable, even disloyal. And the most disturbing part, it works, slowly. One by one, you notice people stepping back. They treat you differently. Conversations become shorter, smiles feel colder. You see it in their eyes, that quiet doubt planted by someone else's lies. Here's the truth. Their goal isn't just to tarnish your name, it's to leave you standing alone. Because once you're isolated, you're easier to manipulate, easier to control, easier to break. They understand something cruelly simple. People without a support system are far more vulnerable. And that's the space they want you in, confused, alone, and questioning your own worth. But Stoic wisdom offers a powerful shield. Seneca once said, "Associate only with those who will make a better man of you." And what does that mean for you? It means your strength doesn't just come from within. It also comes from who you choose to let in. The right people, those who truly know your heart, will see through the lies. The wrong ones will believe the whispers and walk away. But either way, you learn something invaluable. Who's really in your corner? Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Emily, was thriving. She had a strong career, supportive colleagues, and a circle of friends who truly cared about her. But then, a toxic coworker began whispering subtle rumors. Nothing obvious, just seeds of doubt like, "Have you noticed Emily seems different lately?" Or, "I heard she's been saying things about you." Over time, the shift was undeniable. People began pulling away. Emily felt the chill in the room, the hesitation in their voices, the way eye contact started to fade, and the worst part, she didn't even know why. But Emily made a powerful choice. She didn't chase explanations. She didn't beg for acceptance. She stayed grounded in who she was. She leaned into the relationships that remained real, and slowly, the truth rose to the surface. The whispers lost power, and the people who truly valued her returned. Because that's the thing about authentic relationships. They don't crumble from gossip. They survive storms. So how do you protect yourself from this tactic? First, stay aware. If someone is trying to turn others against you, recognize it early. Second, don't play their game. The more you defend yourself against lies, the more it looks like you have something to prove. And third, hold tight to those who truly know you. The right people won't be swayed by rumors. They'll recognize the truth on their own. At the end of the day, isolation is only a weapon if you let it work. The people meant for you will always find their way back. Stay strong, stay true, and never let someone else decide who you are. Now, what happens when they take it even further and begin to attack your confidence at its core? Let's dive into that next. Shastra 6, they undermine your confidence. Sometimes the sharpest wounds don't come from enemies. They come from subtle comments, masked as concern, wrapped in a smile, disguised as advice. But slowly, deliberately, they chip away at your self-belief. This is one of the most damaging tactics used by someone who doesn't just dislike you. They want to see you fail. They plant seeds of doubt in your mind, making you question your abilities, your judgment, even your worth. At first, it may sound like harmless feedback. Maybe they say, "I just want what's best for you." Or, "Are you sure this is something you can handle?" It feels like concern. But over time, a pattern emerges. Every time you take a step forward, they find a way to pull you 2 steps back. Here's the truth. They're not trying to help you grow. They're trying to weaken your sense of self. Because the moment you lose faith in your own judgment, the moment you hesitate, second guess, or shrink back, that's when they win. Their goal is control, not through force, but through self-doubt. But Stoic wisdom has a powerful antidote. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are disturbed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your perception of it." And what does that mean? It means no one's words, no matter how sharp, have the power to define you, unless you give them that power. The negativity of others only holds weight if you choose to carry it. Let me share a real story. A man I know, let's call him Jake, was on the verge of something exciting. He was starting his own business. He had passion, a clear vision, and the courage to take the leap. But there was one person in his life, a so-called friend, who never missed an opportunity to undercut his confidence. "Are you sure you're ready for this? Most businesses fail, you know." At first, Jake brushed it off, but as those words kept coming, they began to echo in his head. Each decision became harder, each risk felt heavier. He started asking himself, what if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? That doubt, it wasn't his own. It was planted. But Jake did something powerful. He stepped back. He reminded himself his confidence wasn't something others could take away unless he handed it to them. So he chose to silence the noise, to stop entertaining the opinions of those who didn't believe in him, and to move forward, fully trusting himself. And guess what? His business took off. And that same friend who once tried to undermine him suddenly had nothing to say. So how do you protect your confidence from those who try to tear it down? First, recognize it for what it is. If someone's words make you doubt more than they encourage, that's not support. That's sabotage. Second, trust yourself. Your potential is not dictated by someone else's opinion. It lives in your choices, your actions, and your resilience. And third, silence the noise. Stop seeking validation from people who don't want to see you win. Because at the end of the day, confidence is your greatest shield. If someone is trying to break it, it's because they fear what you're capable of. So hold your ground, trust your path, and never ever let their doubts become your own. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, thank you. Your presence here matters. If today's message stirred something inside you, please consider liking the video, leaving a thoughtful comment, and subscribing for more wisdom like this. Your support inspires this work, and I hope these insights continue to inspire you. Let's keep learning, growing, and rising together. Ash 7. They will stop at nothing to see you broken. Sometimes, the most dangerous kind of hatred isn't loud. It doesn't slam doors or shout insults. It's quiet, patient, persistent. It hides beneath small actions until one day you realize the person you thought was just a rival wants to see you completely destroyed. This isn't ordinary jealousy. It's not just bitterness or bruised pride. It's something much darker. They don't just want to see you fail, they want you erased, defeated, exhausted, gone. If they celebrate your struggles, they twist the truth, they wear you down, not just in your work, but in your spirit. And here's the chilling truth. If they can't control you, they'll try to break you. If they can't ruin your name, they'll try to drain your energy. If they can't stop your rise, they'll try to make you give up on your own. Because to them, your strength is a threat. Your resilience is a problem. And the only way they win is if you surrender first. But this is where Stoic strength shines. Seneca once said, "True strength is found in enduring hardship without surrendering your virtue." It means you don't need to fight fire with fire. You win by standing firm, by not breaking. No matter what they say, no matter what they do, they can spread lies, they can turn others against you, they can set traps and push you to your emotional limits. But if you remain rooted in who you are, if you refuse to crumble, they lose. Let me share a story. There was a man I knew, let's call him Daniel. He was successful, focused, and doing well in life. But there was one person, an old colleague, who couldn't bear to see him rise. This person spread lies, sabotaged opportunities, manipulated others to turn against Daniel. Eventually, Daniel found himself cornered, tired, and on the edge of walking away. But then he remembered his strength wasn't in fighting back, it was in enduring. So Daniel stayed calm, stayed consistent, and refused to let their cruelty define him. And in the end, his enemy unraveled. They lost credibility because Daniel didn't have to destroy them. They destroyed themselves trying to destroy him. So how do you deal with someone who stops at nothing? First, don't play their game. They want you to react emotionally. Don't. Second, stay focused on your path, your goals, your peace. The more attention you give them, the more control they gain. And finally, endure without surrender. Let your strength speak for itself, because in the end, the only way they win is if you break, and you won't. Not today, not ever. Before we close, let's take a quiet moment to reflect. Today, we uncovered the darkest strategies used by those who don't just hate you, but actively want to tear you down. We began with lies that damage your reputation. Then we explored emotional manipulation, how it rewires your self-worth. We saw how provocations are used to ruin your image and how false friends can gather your secrets like weapons. We learned how isolating you from others is a form of silent warfare and how they plant doubt to weaken your confidence. And finally, we reached the core of it all, that some people will stop at nothing until they see you broken. But in every scenario, the power to stay grounded is yours, through awareness, through self-mastery, through enduring with integrity. If this message spoke to you, please consider hitting like, share this with someone who needs to hear it, tap the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a moment of calm in the chaos. Your support helps this channel grow, but more importantly, it helps spread strength, clarity, and stoic wisdom in a world that deeply needs it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for standing tall. And until next time, stay true, stay grounded, and let the storm pass through you, not into you.